So I've been in business, in my bookkeeping business, for almost 11 years now, where I have worked solely with trades-based businesses for that entire time. I've also been a profit first professional for a little over 5 years now. And what I wanted to talk about today is what are some of the things that I have found about my trades clients working with them for such a long space of time in those two different areas. Now, for those who don't know a little bit about me, prior to having my children, I was also a financial planner where I worked specifically with a lot of self-employed people who were nearing retirement, 5-10 years out usually, and they had finally decided that they were going to plan for their retirement. And what I found was that so many of them had worked their butts off in their business for 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40 years. And they were finally nearing retirement. And what I found was that they didn't actually have enough money to retire on comfortably. They had worked 5, 6, 7 day weeks, 10, 12, 15 hour days in some cases. And they had, in most cases, paid off their home, which was amazing. Some of them would have an investment property that would still have some debt on it. But apart from that, they didn't have much else. And it certainly wasn't from lack of work or lack of hard work on their behalf. And what I found was that they had built this business up, but it relied solely on them. And if you took them out of the business, then the business would often crumble. And, I was a financial planner 15, 20 odd years ago. And what I'm finding through working with tradies in my own business is we have the same problem still. And what I wanted to do here in this podcast was just talk about a few of the things that we can do to help make sure that we are working on the business as well as in the business, so that when we need to, sell the business, or we would like to retire, or in some cases, for many trades, their body just can't do the labor anymore and you need to, migrate out of the doing, that we can start to put some steps in place now to help you down the track. So one thing with Profit First that I talk about all the time is looking forward. How can we be proactive and look ahead and see what we can do rather than be reactive and wait for things to happen to us? And one of those things that I've found is that it's really normal for our trades business owners and business owners in general to be reactive. So if you take the bookkeeping, for example, and the numbers in your bookkeeping systems, still today, even when so many people are using Xero or so many people have online bookkeeping options, the information is still out of date. Many people, on average, I see people's Xero files are at least a month behind, and we have the technology there to make it easier and simpler for us, but we're still not doing it. And I've gone kind of digging and asking questions with all my new clients around this, because it's something that I really think is important and something that we need to change as an industry in the trade space, but also as a small business owners overall, that we need to take away some of that mental load that we often carry to put things in place to make it easier for us. Now, I hear all the time that small business is hard. The first 5 years, you're never going to make a profit. You have to put back everything you earn back into the business. You can't take a wage yet because you've just got to put it back into the business. And in some instances, that is partly true. But what I see happens is it just sets us up for failure. Now, we've all heard the stats around small business failure. I think it's like 80% will fail in the first 2 years, and of those that survive, another 80% will fail in the next 5 years. And what I find is those who fail and choose to leave the businesses are often in a better position than those who decide to stay and keep working harder, working longer. I'll just take this job. I'll just cut the price here. And we just run ourselves in the ground. And often what happens is that we get quite sick. Physically, we get sick. I've worked with clients who have had all different sorts of illnesses and diseases over the years, and they come to me because of that, and they know that they can't keep going how they've been going. And so a couple of things that I find is that we need to, and I've done this in my own business, fall into the trap where if we just work harder, we just work longer, we just get this new job, win this next job, it's going to solve all our problems. And we don't focus on the financials. And I'm here to tell you, whether you like it or not, we must focus on your financials first before anything else in your business. Yes, I totally agree that you potentially will need to spend money on marketing or a salesperson or a business development manager or, whatever that may be. But we need to have your financial fundamentals solid first. And this is the step that I see people skip. And it's usually just because they don't know what they don't know. And they think that doing those other things are going to solve the problem. And in fact, it just makes it worse. So what I'm talking about when I'm talking about your financial foundations is getting your bookkeeping simple and efficient. And if you've listened to me for long enough, you will know I use those words all day, every day. So things like making sure you're using a receipt management system like HubDoc, so there's no data entry happening in your bookkeeping. So your receipt management system talks to Xero, sends all that information through really easily and efficiently, and then your bookkeeping is really easy and efficient. If your bookkeeping is not simple and efficient, then there's room for improvement. Please reach out. Happy to chat to you about what steps you need to take to do that. If you're using a job management system, again, that job management system is connected to Xero correctly, so the data is flowing through as it should, that things aren't being duplicated or things aren't not going through at all, because again, that'll make a mess. Making sure that those systems all talk to each other and making sure that your bookkeeping is simple and efficient is the absolute first step in your financial foundations. Once you have done that, then you have the data to be able to look at making better decisions in your business. Now, as business owners, many of us, myself included, have prided ourselves on the fact that we've got a pretty good gut instinct for things. Like, we just know when things are going to be right or when they're wrong. We make decisions based on our gut. That was absolutely me. What I found was, not only for myself, but for those that I've worked with over all of these years, is that when we have the data to back up our gut feelings, it makes life so much easier. It makes it easier to make decisions, particularly if you're in a partnership or there's, more than one business owner. One might have one feeling about a decision, one might have another. If you've got the data there, that helps show you what situation is going to, what the outcome of that situation is going to be much, much easier than it would if you're just having, I think we should do it, I don't think we should, and there's no data there. Some of the other things I find is that when businesses set up their financial foundations and they have that bookkeeping and the receipt management system and their job management system all set up and they have Profit First set up in their business, I often get feedback that it feels too easy. Something's wrong. Like, why are we working less and making more money? Why are we turning over less money and have more money in the bank? Why are we able to no longer work weekends and still get our jobs done? And that all comes from the data, from knowing your numbers, from those financial foundations, and knowing that if you take on this job, that you're going to make X amount of money out of it. If you price it or discount it down to a certain amount, then you're not going to take any money on it. So then you can decide not to take the job. I always say to my clients, if you're going to go broke, just stay home and go broke. Please don't go and work yourself to the bone, underpricing, over-delivering, and not being paid or being paid quite slowly, working yourself into the ground. You're going to go broke and you're going to get really sick and you're going to have a quite stressful life, and that's going to affect the family and it's going to affect your staff and it's going to affect those around you. Just stay home and go broke if that's the case. What I found over the years is those clients who put their hand up and say, hey, I know it's not working. I have no idea what's not working. Can you please help me? Not surprisingly, the clients who make the most progress. They're the clients who are able to stop working weekends, work half-day Fridays, take holidays off uninterrupted with their families. They're the ones who I constantly get feedback from saying, I never thought this was possible. I didn't think this was, a thing. I thought this was only for other people. Building those financial foundations will absolutely give you the choice to work the hours you want. Now, if you love working on the tools and you want to work 38 hours on the tools, great, let's build your business so it does that. If your body can't handle that, well then let's build a business so you can still work on the business, still get an income, still be making money, but have a team around you to help you do the actual work. It's really, really important when we're thinking about your financial foundations is what's the goal for you? What's the goals for your family? What is the goals for the business? And having to think, as I said, looking forward and being proactive and thinking about what you want out of the business, and then reverse engineering that and going, okay, I need X amount of money in income for my wages. How are we going to make the business make us money? What do we need to do now to make sure that the business can afford for me to only work on the tools 3 days a week in the future, or whatever the scenario may be? So as I mentioned, I love working with my trades-based clients. As I mentioned, I've done it for over 11 years now. But what I really, really love seeing more than anything is those who can put their hand up and say, hey, I'm ready to do this differently. I'm not going to do it how it's always been done, because that is not going to give me the results that I need. If you've been thinking about implementing Profit First in your business, or if you have, if your Xero and bookkeeping is not up to scratch, then please reach out, send me a DM, send me a PM, send me an email, katie@profitfirstfortradies.com.au, or post a comment and I'll happily have a chat with you. We can book in a time and have a bit of a review about what you're doing. And I really want to hear about what your goals are. What's the plan for the future? Even if they feel big and bold and ridiculous, I want to hear about them.